welcome to Plato's Cave on Revolution Radio for Revolution.radio. That's right, home to ideas that are fresh, uncensored, and hopefully interesting. Always good to be in the chat room, where now I think Dave is there, which is good. Come on into that chat room, it's all good. Most importantly, though, this is listener-funded radio, which means we need you to donate if you can. Any kind of currency or crypto is good, and maybe you can't donate. That's okay too. Because it's not getting any easier. In fact, it's getting harder. It's getting harder all around. We're going to talk about that a bit. Tell people about the station. Tell people. Come to our website. Check it out. Check out all the sites. Come into it. Be part of it. It's important. Today is the 5th of November. Oh, the 5th of November, 2024. I remember the 5th of November. I know of no reason. November. Gunpowder plot and treason. I know of no reason why it should ever be forgotten. Something like that. Of course, this is when Guy Fawkes tried to blow up the English Parliament back in the day. That's today. That's right. The gunpowder plot. You can catch the cave on the air, or on the line all the time, on your smart device. You grab it up to listen anywhere, or listen at home on a base tape of digital radio. Archives are free, another good reason to donate, so get in there if you can. If you want, please do. Before we start broadcasting with you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast today.
It is the Dark and Jung.
Thank you, sir. And for myself, of course, the Dark people. We would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. We are pretty late now. It's 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Australia. And so we'll finish up at midnight. Still, I'd say it's a thing. It comes around every year. So, yeah, it's a bit late for us. So bear with us. We're elderly gentlemen. You are elderly.
I'm 600 years old, apparently.
I'm still I'm a spring chicken. I am. That's what I am. But it is getting harder and tougher out there every day. The interest rate is on hold again in Australia. The reason for that is because it appears that inflation is too high. So they said, no, we won't touch it. It's okay, fine. All right. I think it's a bad idea, but whatever. What do I know? A lot more than those people making the decisions, I can tell you. That's for sure. But that's not there. Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Today's election day as well. November 5th. It's election day. It's gunpowder plot
sure
day.
Is.
There's a lot of things going on. North Korea's soon going to fight in the Ukraine. Israel is pounding, and I mean pounding at both Gaza and Lebanon. It seems indiscriminate now. Go on.
Just if you mention them one by one. So yes, it's voting day. Do it. Get out there and vote. Exercise your democracy by taking part in it. Yeah, do that. Go on and vote, and that's really good. I watched the press conference today with the head of the military in the US, and they just announced a whole carrier group is going over to the Middle East. Not to replace anyone, this is to add to what's there. And the warning is if a single American is injured, good luck with that. So, the threat of retaliation from the US.
Yeah, but what if the Israelis injure the US?
No, if anyone does.
But that's what I'm saying. Right?
Yeah.
It's a statement that makes very little sense.
I smell a false flag, Mecky.
Oh, brother, Yeah, look, it's insane. It is insane. I'm mean, look, we are in Australia. We're far away from everything. We're lucky that way in many ways. Right? But the news brings it to you. There's like a certain immediacy to these things. It's everywhere. I'm looking at the RT. I'm looking at Al Jazeera. Everything is now focusing in on the
election.
Even the election. Even so, I'm looking at Zeit. It's a German publication. I'm looking at the Guardian, RT. Like I said, Al Jazeera. I'm looking at the BBC. They're all focusing on the election. That's the number one thing now on every page that I go to in different languages as well. So, yeah. And apparently, so the Germans are saying, just recently, this is 9 minutes ago, Kamala Harris leads in 4 of the 7 swing states, what they're saying. Guardian, what's the Guardian saying? The Americas. Not terribly much. Okay. They don't have any, prognostications. There's US picture. Knife edge. So it's a really close election. RT. What are you saying to me, Mr. RT? Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, knife edge again. US is almost done. Yeah, no.
So, the 3 most important ones are Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So they're the most important. If Trump gets one of those, it's a good thing. It's possible North Carolina will stay, a Republican. Maryland, probably not. Virginia, hoping that will. At the moment, the early votes. It's only early votes, right? But hoping that's gonna go that way. Says the pundits. I watched a whole bunch of, from experts to laymen talking about them today, and how they might go, and the early voting thing. It's almost hit 80 million, which is the most early votes ever.
I think that might be the most votes ever.
Yeah, well, that's the early votes.
No. I mean overall. I think. I don't know if we've ever had anyone in any election 80 million votes cast.
Oh no, there was 159 million or something, whatever it was, when Biden won.
Oh really?
Yeah, but it was 80 million each, or thereabouts, almost.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
And there was nowhere near the early votes like this time. And I look, everyone's saying that it could be the last election. And this is to your point that you've made a few times. But I've now heard that from the Republican side, where it was normally the Democrat side saying, Trump will put himself in place and become a dictator. That's one. But the Republicans' argument for this is, well, it wasn't democratic that Kamala was put on the ticket. No one voted. She was anointed. That's number one. So number two, everything is in place for them to do that anyway because of the illegal votes that they've brought in. And so they're trying to fast. They up until the last few days, they've been trying to fast track turning illegals into registered citizens, and I think there was the most amount of new citizens that have hit the ballots and getting them registered. But in California, you don't have to be even registered or show ID. There's nothing that you have to do to vote there. And look, while that's already a secure Democrat seat, so it doesn't kind of matter anyway, it would make the popular vote go up. But in the states, the swing states, they've been flying. The Democrats have been flying in people in crazy numbers.
Do we have evidence
states.
for that? We need evidence. We can't just make statements.
I'm only saying what the other people are saying.
Yeah,
I'm only echoing someone else's words there.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? And
that's all I'm doing. And that's the same as saying Trump will become a dictator. That's not opinion. It's a future thing that no one's done yet. Yeah.
No, but there's a difference.
He
So
might want to do it, but
no,
I don't
I'm
have any
saying,
proof that he's going to do it.
what I've been saying, and I will keep saying, if he wins, he will not leave the White House. Full stop. Right? That's my opinion.
Mhm.
But I'm not saying that anyone is flying people around, to rig the elections. Because I don't know that. I'm not there. What I'm saying is,
Mhm.
even if he loses the election, it could be even worse. Because I honestly don't think that, because the country is pretty much split down the middle, right? I mean, he's got very strong support. Democrats have relatively strong support. So the country is split down the middle. So this is going to be very dicey. It's going to be, and I don't think cooler heads are going to prevail here. The next few days,
we're not in a climate of cool heads.
no, the next few days are going to be critical for the survival, in my opinion, of what is America, right? And then what it will look like for the next 20, 30 years or longer.
Yeah.
Because it will matter. It will matter to the world as well. Now, I can't vote, but I probably have, through my wife, about 120 family members in the States. So
Mhm.
I do care what happens to them, obviously.
Mhm.
So there's some interest I have.
I've got my school friends, and of course, a lot of our audiences.
Oh,
over
of course.
There. Yeah,
But
we care about each and every one of you.
Even the family members are split down the middle.
I know.
So
Elon Musk today was the one that was saying that the Democrats will legalize so many illegals in swing states in the future that this will be the last real election in America. Because once they've won it by legalizing illegals, then you can never recover that state back again. And it's a full interview there that Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan talking about this. And Joe Rogan agrees, apparently, because these are the real people, and I watched the entire interview. They're their opinions as well. So I hear what you're saying. I'm only echoing theirs because they came out today on that, right? And look,
interesting.
If this is the case, that it doesn't matter who you vote for, that it's going to be the last election anyway because it won't matter anymore, then how did we get here?
Well, we got here, I can tell you. And it's really interesting. It started a while ago, obviously. But it's always been the end game to destroy America, the United States of America, or what it stood for. Francis Bacon, I think it was. Anyway, he called America the New Atlantis, right, when it was first conceived. And many people looked at America as the great experiment as well. Because you have to understand, what they didn't want was a king or queen or any kind of sovereign ruling over them. Right? That's why they all got together. King George, get out of here. It wasn't about tea. It wasn't about taxation. It was about the issuing of currency. If you follow our fiat currency shows, there's ample evidence that shows that the Bank of England is very interested in keeping the colonies under control of England, of Great Britain, and all the things that did happen. Taking away the greenback, causing, I guess, the first recession for the United States.
We spoke about that in the fiat currency.
That's exactly that's what I'm saying. So there's that, right? And it was an experiment, and it was hard fought. I mean, many people died, I guess, defeating the British on the continent. The French had, funnily enough, the French had their revolution after the Americans had theirs. Right? So 1776 and 1789. In fact, quite a few of the Americans went over to France to help the French people with their stuff. Interestingly, you have to understand, nothing exists in a vacuum. But ever since then, America has been under siege, mostly by the banking cartels. I call them cartels because that's what they are, and they've always driven to this point. Okay, look, we saw the power of the banks in 2008. And I would say even not just capitalism died in 2008, but democracy as well. Okay, because Obama bent over backwards, gave the banks massive payout packages, rescue packages, whatever you want to call them. We've done the analysis as well, if you recall. In excess of $1 trillion was given to bail the banks out.
Yeah, that's right.
So it all died. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, it's completely irrelevant. In
But
fact,
Mickey,
that's
the
part
banks
of the
that
problem.
received the money was so. Well, let's use the right words. Look, could I say they were relieved that the problem was now over, and they were so relieved enough that they gave bonuses to the people involved? Could you say
I
that?
don't. No, actually, you know what? I don't think so. I mean, they did give the bonuses, but I don't think there was ever any worry on their part. What I mean by that is this. I think
The sky's falling, Mickey. I need some money.
Sorry?
The sky's
well,
falling. I need some money.
that's right. The problem is, and I don't know if you've seen this movie. It's really great. It's called what's it called? The Great. Oh, I don't want to lie to you. The Great Crash. No, the Big Short.
The Big Short. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
You threw me with great.
Yeah. And in it, there's a quote by Steve Carell's character, Mark Baum. He plays Mark Baum. And it's toward the end of the movie. And he says, when he saw all the bankers come out of the Oval Office, Obama's, et cetera, of the White House, he realized that it wasn't stupidity that had caused the big collapse, if you will. It wasn't stupidity. It wasn't carelessness either. Well, I guess it was carelessness to some extent, in the sense that they just didn't care because they knew they're going to be okay. They knew they're going to be okay. They knew they're going to be bailed out. They already knew that. That their talents are so deep in politics that it's impossible for them not to. And if you listen to the Shining Sides Out view on 9/11 and the timeline of 9/11, you look at the involvement of the banks and oil companies, etc., in that crisis, you understand how deep those talents actually go, right? And biggest redistribution of wealth happened in 2008. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or Harris who wins this. This was always going to be the outcome. And they need America or the US weakened. This experiment has to fail because you look at the rest of the world. Russia, autocracy. Right? Indonesia, Singapore, on state. North Korea. Even if you look at India, or China, certainly autocracy, but even India, right? Modi and his gang of people. These are not democracies as we understand, or as we would like them to be. In fact, I'll make the point: there's only one democracy on the planet, right? No, none of the other countries are actually democracies per se. Most are representative or such. What we need would be many independents in parliaments and in congresses and senates, etc., etc. That's what we would do. Independence. But we are somehow stuck in two-party systems all over the place, or a single-party system, as the cases with Russia, North Korea, China, and others. So it's over. And this is just a manifestation of this final outburst where you almost have to go, well, I give up. Look at the situation. There is no turnaround here. The only way to turn around this situation for America, that America finds itself in, is through a war. You cannot come back from this. The only way to come back is to do what Donald Trump wants to do, is to deport all illegal immigrants, make jobs again for like American citizens, if you will, right? If that's your focus. But if you take 10 million people off the economy, you're gonna start a recession, or worse, a depression, because all of a sudden 10 million people aren't going to do any more work, right? So you have to fill that real quick. And on top of that comes the impact it has on everything else. Like, you have to stop globalism. Full stop. You have to stop it. Globalism has to end. Because if you want to make America great, or Australia great, or Europe great again, or whatever you do, right, you have to bring the jobs back to those countries.
Yeah.
If you keep outsourcing, and in fact, you can't even use AI anymore. In fact, you must stop AI completely, because it'll just kill more jobs. It'll consume more electricity, it'll consume more water. So if you're really serious about making these economies great again, in America, I guess it's the MAGA movement, but other countries face similar if not the same issues. You have to stop these things. You have to stop globalism. Remember we discussed this thing. I thought after the COVID pandemic, and what it meant for the world economy, I really thought, okay, well, here's a good chance for everybody to shorten the supply lines, start producing whatever in country again. Because if you don't have a long supply line, then we had to wait for IT for 1 to 2 years in some instances in Australia. Okay, the delivery timelines were just short, but it didn't happen because people are addicted to spreadsheets, and spreadsheets tell a wonderful story of unlimited growth and never-ending profits. And if you look at the spreadsheet, let's say an American worker costs you $100,000, for argument's sake, right? A qualified, highly skilled person. If you look at someone in India or Vietnam, they cost you 5,000 US, 20,000 US, significantly less. Right? So all of a sudden, instead of hiring one person, you can hire 20 or 10, whatever the case may be, right? And you save a huge chunk of money as well. And
sorry, did I just laugh out loud? Sorry.
Yeah, but see, Dave and I both know the reality of this. We know the reality. It doesn't work. It doesn't. These savings never materialize, right?
No,
I mean,
it's a hard to manage environment that doesn't satisfy your user base and doesn't get the jobs done within a reasonable time frame to the same standards. It's really tough, I have to say.
Yeah. And it just, look, it's a false economy, and anybody who knows anything about anything would agree with it. And I've done the analysis, and nobody wanted to hear it, and that's all good. It's fine.
So imagine every company did it with all staff.
Yeah.
Then we've just cored our technical resources in this country. What are they going to do? Work at Bunnings? That's Walmart, right? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
So you then have a government that doesn't have the same income vector through taxation they used to have. It starts to shrivel up. They're going, where's all the money going? We don't have any. What happened, right? So at the same time as all these, the governments do the wrong thing, right? They promise the world, and the only way they can pay for it in an ever-increasing cost to deliver the same thing that they did last year, but with a reduced income vector for themselves, is either borrow money, because we see America putting it on the credit card all the time, it's crazy, or raise taxes so that they don't have to borrow so much. And then you're paying for the thing that you paid last year, but now it's not worth as much, so you're going to pay more. It's really wrong. And at some point, I'm in solutioning mode, either they just go straight to CBDCs and just type the money in and do what American founding fathers discovered in the early days without borrowing money. You just made money and paid for all the things you did because that just got it all done. Prospera. Hey, look at that. Almost no taxes. So you either do that or you go into a ton of debt and dissolve away all the things that you were really buying votes with everywhere, promising no tax increases like the UK just did, and then they increased the taxes. They actually increased the inheritance tax because they know so many people are up the end of falling off the perch within, they can estimate it. Now they've got this ridiculous inheritance tax on anything over £1 million. It's ridiculous. Where there wasn't any.
You're better off to put into a trust over there.
Yeah.
I mean, not financial advisors. You know what you want.
No. My point is, if the governments continue to do what they do, and that's sell us a product they can't afford to deliver, and then it eventually bites us in the butt, right? Yeah. Or they've got to borrow money to do it. What are we doing? What are we doing as people where we expect it every year? I'm only going to vote for tax cuts. Well, I hope you don't want the roads to get fixed like they used to, or there to be health, or you name it, sanitation. Anything that you get the government supplied to you, they can't continue to do it at the cost they're doing it at.
That's right. Cutting taxes, especially corporate taxes, is a bad idea. In fact, in Australia, if you do that, you stop functioning. In America, because that's what Donald Trump wants to do, is cut corporate taxes. Trickle-down economics doesn't work.
It just makes them wealthier.
It does. If you don't tax the super rich, they'll say thank you very much. I'll just have more, and that's the truth. Okay, and you can stand on your head and say, "Oh no, we'll do this." No, it doesn't work. We've seen now for the last 60 years, 70 years. Trickle-down economics is a complete fallacy. And more so than that, think about this, Dave. Let's game this through for a second. Think about this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you can destabilize the United States with these elections. Let's just say you do. And what's the logical outcomes that you're actually destabilizing the rest of the world? And not only that, once you do that, you've got in the perfect position to initiate, in my opinion, the Great Reset.
Mm-hmm.
So, America's destabilized. We're going to change things. Maybe in this scenario, America might be one of the first countries that gets the Great Reset.
Oh, see, that's a good point.
And
that's a good point. I like that.
Then you just follow, because that's 300 million people in still what is the largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
And if they can make it work there, then they can make it work anywhere. If you make it work in Australia, who cares?
Isn't that the lyrics from New York, New York?
That's it. If you make it work in Singapore, any small nation, you can make it work because it's small enough. Right?
Yeah.
But see, if you can,
the argument that the very hardest thing to do is to control the people, and in America especially, one of the lucky ones still in the westernized part of the world, with free speech. Good on you. Clutch onto that. That's what I say. Do your best to hold on to that, because that's the first to go. And when it goes, then you can't ever say anything out against the government. And that's when if they destabilized enough, then that wouldn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's correct.
So how much, a couple of years ago, I remember it like it was yesterday. At the end of 2019, there was something happened around then. There was bushfires, and then the next thing that happened, I forget. It was it's on the tip of my tongue, but anyway. There was a thing, and we saw government overreach. We saw police and government overreach in quantities that we never dreamed possible.
Yeah, we had people in Australia locked in their apartment buildings.
That's right.
Forget being locked down in the suburb or region. These were people that were locked inside an apartment complex. And you're thinking, no. And the thing is this. I'm pretty sure now that was actually illegal to do that.
And it wasn't evenly enforced.
No.
Was it?
No, it was definitely a bias against immigrants and non-English or native English speakers, such.
And the less financially beneficial people.
And nothing happened to the Muppet. What's his name? The guy.
Whoever he was, yeah. Oh, and Gladys.
Except, you know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. He's getting a bronze statue because he stayed in power so long. So he's being bronzed.
Not like the old-fashioned bronzes where they used to just pour bronze over the carcass. Did you see that? They X-rayed one of the bronze statues to actually find the person in it.
Well, a person.
Well, it was a person, yes. I was astounded by that. Hey, what do you? That was Andrews, wasn't it? Andrews. Andrews, yeah. So, look, that could be the most honourable way to go.
Right.
I'm not supporting violence at all, but, it's a...
No, look, neither do I. But ultimately, you have to ask yourself, what can you accept? And the thing is this, and rightfully so, I think, because Australians we're the most locked down nation anywhere. Like
Yeah.
we were
In the
for the
history of
longest,
humanity, yeah.
yeah, for the longest time, right? And I of course completely ignored all lockdowns. I just went wherever I wanted to, and I did. So clearly, whatever. But ultimately, they're saying now, the analysts are saying that Australians are probably not going to respond well to future lockdowns because we all see that it was complete nonsense to start with, and you can't expect people to follow your nonsense indefinitely. It just doesn't work.
Well, so the problem is, Becky, we've just got that bill. You can't speak out against the government, and your social media can, you can go to jail. Blah 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 blah.
There is this channel, and I really like it. Honest Government. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I know the Honest Government commercials. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I do urge you to look at it. Everybody in the chat or in the listening to us. It's an Australian. They're actually in Melbourne. It's a couple. There's a documentary, and they hire a couple of actresses to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they are. I mean, it's short and sweet and on the money, And I gotta say, I love those guys.
And they do it with voiceovers too. So the people
brilliant.
acting the scene, it's not their voice that you're hearing. It's fantastic.
Correct.
It's exactly like a government commercial.
Yeah, they're called the Juice Media. That's the channel.
Juice Media, that's right.
The Juice Media. So go ahead. I wonder what would happen to them, because clearly, everything they're saying is not pro-government at all.
No, it's not. And satire is included in the things you're not allowed to do.
So that really...
From the country, Becky, the very country that could laugh at itself the most.
Well, we have a culture of larrikinism.
That's right.
And larrikin is like a good-natured fool, self-depreciating, deprecating rather, fool, or person that doesn't take themselves too seriously. Bob Hawke was a bit of a larrikin.
Yes.
But it's a real Australian kind of thing. But you know what I've seen over the last 30 years? Not that I'm an expert. I've seen the death of the Australian ethos.
Yeah, totally.
Everything that Australia stood for in its beauty and glory and uniqueness. That's sort of all going by the wayside, and it's becoming another corporate entity, right? It's the idea of mateship and good neighborliness, and you find it here and there. And if you go to the country, it's still there. You go to the big cities like Sydney and Melbourne, not so much. It just disappeared. That's a real shame, because there was this real feeling of I guess solidarity, comradeship, like the actual mateship that people had. That's sort of fallen by the wayside a bit.
It's there in the country. It's in the country areas,
yeah.
But you're right. In the city, in our big cities, we live anonymously.
Yeah.
To the greatest extent, there's too many people to know. The towns are too large. In a small country town, people know everybody.
100%.
And
100%.
That's what village living is.
Yes.
If you could amplify village living to be part of the Great Reset, which is the plan anyway, 5-minute, 15-minute cities. So there'll be a perimeter, imagine a glass dome, but it isn't. There's a perimeter of which you're not supposed to travel outside of in 15-minute cities, which would mean that it's a village. But it's not a village in the English sense, or the Irish sense, or the Scottish sense for that matter. Or it's not like the Dutch kind of village. It isn't those small villages. It is, high rise. It'll eventually be millions of people, and it'll just be anonymous living again.
Yeah. I mean, Hong Kong is a perfect example of what it most likely will look like.
Mm-hmm.
You squeeze as many people into as little a space as possible and see what happens. Right? That's what you want, and that's what they're doing. And And look, Sydney is, I mean, I'm sure it's similar elsewhere in the world, but Sydney is growing up. People used to have their own house out west, like you have these suburbs. It's kind of like LA, right? I mean, it's very spread out. I mean, really spread out. And there were, single family homes, maybe smaller apartment buildings, but the vast majority were single family homes, and they're all making way now for high rises.
Yeah.
I mean, high rises.
Oh yeah,
Some of the things that are going up are monstrosities, right? Because they want to pack more people in.
Like Parramatta Road and where the M4 starts, or used to start.
Oh.
Yeah, all the way along there. It's all crazy. Carlingford's the same, Epping, all the way up to Hornsby. Yeah. They're just doing all exactly the same. See, the Sydney Basin's limited. When you're in LA and you drive for 10 miles, there's a new city. And they're small clusters of, buildings there, usually commercial buildings in some way, a lot of businesses. LA was actually quite small from a high-rise perspective. I thought it would be much bigger, but it isn't. And the suburbia is everywhere, but it's not the same here, where our basin of our extent is actually like at least a third smaller than LA greater area, and we've got to pack so many more people in, and that's just because we have limited space and limited area for housing to be. That's why the cost is crazy expensive.
Yeah.
I think it's a $2 million entry fee now into buying a house in Sydney. Minimum.
Yeah. If you wanted something livable, so the answer is yes.
Oh, that's a teardown, right?
Well, I mean, a teardown will cost you $1 million, $1.5 million. And I noticed because here right in my neighborhood, there are a lot of old fiber houses that go back to even end of World War II.
Yeah.
And they're old. They're 80, close to 80 years old in some cases, and quite worn. Some of them. Some are in nice upkeep, and it's a big plot of land for a 2 or 3 bedroom house.
1,400 square meters or something, or greater. 2,000. Yeah.
Some are huge, right? And all being torn down. But if you want to buy it, it'll cost you $1.5 million, right? Or even 2 depending. And really what you're buying is the land. You don't give a hoot about the house. You tear it down anyway. And that's happening all up down this street here. Old Greystanes Road, I think it's called, or what it's called.
Yeah, that's right. Greystanes.
It's just nuts. And it's everywhere. And like they've said, it's along the corridor as well, Parramatta Road, M4, all along the corridor of the transport, the rail lines, all along wherever you've got mass transport, it's all rezoned and they're all changing it. And that's pretty much. So look, the ideal scenario for the parasites is this: the vast majority of the human race needs to be pushed together in as little a space as possible.
Compacted into one area, yeah.
Yeah. So the rest can be parkland. Okay, just to be clear. And you might be able to visit the parkland once in a while, but not very often, because what they're thinking is social credit will come in. And maybe you've got limited funds anyway, because everybody's going to be on the universal income, whatever the government stipend will give you. And maybe you even have a job, but you don't have to leave. You don't even have to see daylight to get to your job, right? And it's really interesting.
This new idea much better.
I know, right? It's really it's a bleak vision of the future. But if you don't know any better, and to be honest with you, I mean, the lockdown was a bit of a test case in many ways. But even the way the cities are now for young kids as well, where you can travel, and you can travel in Sydney from morning to night and never see the sun.
Yeah.
Really, I should say you would never, feel the sun in your face, because you'd be in a closed environment or underground or whatever it may be. And you can do that now. Couldn't always do it.
No, that's right.
Yeah, we're moving away from, everything that I think is good in life, really. Fresh air and interaction with human beings and all these things.
We're just old. Like you.
We're just old.
I found out that Pamela Anderson is my age. And it's like, wow, jeez.
Oh,
If
well,
only I was famous.
yes, that would be something.
I've got a segue though. I've got a segue to the overreach comment that I made before. There, did you hear about Peanut the squirrel?
I heard of it.
No, it's sad. It's sad, right? So
Yeah.
Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon were living in an apartment, and for some reason, the DEC in New York, they came in and were there for 5 hours in this couple's apartment, and Peanut the squirrel lived with them, and so did Fred the raccoon. Lived with them in the apartment, and just like cats and dogs do, right? And they were looked after quite well. And Peanut was an internet sensation. He had his own YouTube channel, and the DEC came in, argued with them for a while, removed the animals, and executed them. It was awful, apparently. And they say euthanized because they couldn't release Peanut to the wild. He wouldn't know how to look after himself. But there was no reason why they couldn't have stayed there. But the couple are now pursuing legal action, and it's just awful. Now, the main commentators of this are saying that is such a few things: waste of resources to do that, because they said countless people there raided the apartment looking for them, and the time that the taxpayers' money to fund this expedition, even though that they were looked after very well, these pets, and it isn't illegal, and the overreach for that to be the only outcome for them. I mean, there's distress that the couple have because they've their beloved pets, and the pets really loved them. They really, I used to keep a pet rat, and its name was Tulip. And I would come home from work, and I would say Tulip, and I would let her out of her cage while I was out, and she could hop around and do things, and she had like a run that she could go within. But when I called her, she would come from it wherever she was, and she'd run up my clothes and jump on my shoulder, and it was the 90s, right? So my friend had a pet rat, and he would go to live concerts, and it would just sit on his shoulder and enjoy the concert, and get out. It wouldn't run away. It's fine. Well, that's the same kind of thing that this Peanut the squirrel was doing, and just absolutely adored their companions, I suppose. Look, it's such a shame. It's really a shame. The pundits are the people who are running this story are saying that's an overreach of the government. It should never have taken place. There wasn't even a letter that it was issued.
What problem was the government trying to solve that? I mean, I don't know.
Who knows? It's only just broken. It happened on the weekend, right? It happened yesterday or something. So
that's one thing I didn't understand. I mean, were they worried that these animals, which had clearly been living there for a long time, were carrying rabies? Or
well, that's one of the calls they made on it. Yeah, but to test for rabies, they had to euthanize them. That doesn't make any sense. It's a swab. We all know that, and they weren't suffering from rabies. And the videos on their YouTube channel show them perfectly healthy. It's perfectly fine.
I think overreach is the correct call, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, this is what people are saying, and what Gutfeld had said on his piece on it was, did this just red pill America? Because the election odds are now showing 58% believe that Trump will win. And it could have been a story. It could be that story that's done it. I don't know. You know what? This is early morning. I know the voting booths are open. I watched a couple of live voting booth cameras. You can watch them just people wander in and vote. And it's going to be, the next 24 hours is going to be really important, I think.
Mhm.
The National Guard has now been deployed to the to the swing states, what they call them battlegrounds. Battleground is the wrong way. Swing states, right? And they kind of look like they're expecting something to happen.
I would say so, 100%. Yeah.
I'm trying to be really light on it. Yeah, I don't want anything to happen. I want, a perfectly working democracy where nothing is terrible. The government stays out of our pockets and out of our lives and just does federal government geopolitics and management, right?
Hi, my name
we
is
just get
Matthew.
on with
I
our
don't believe
lives.
we've met.
I
You
know
must
I
be-
sound totally naive, and I know
You must be new to this planet.
Yeah, I'd like to taste some of that strawberry ice cream I've heard so much about on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So it's mostly harmless. Yeah, so look, I know it's a stupid position that I just stated, because we haven't seen that before. It might have been the ultimate goal of what a real democracy is supposed to do. Yeah. But man, it makes me I have the wants when I start trying to define what a democracy should look like, and then compare it to what we have, and I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I'm with you, and you're correct. And we haven't really tasted true democracy in a long time, if ever, in fact.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
that's a problem. But look, we are where we are, and there's very little we can do about it at this point. But I do worry, and I do think that we've reached a point now where the end game is becoming so obvious it's going to be really difficult to avoid.
Yeah.
Making these calls and going, okay, well maybe there's something to this, because this is now so vitriolic. It's so bad. I mean, you've seen how people. I mean, they really are hating on each other.
Yes.
It's to me, it's shocking, to be honest with you. Just seeing it.
I can't wait to watch the CNN broadcast of that lady defecating again. I hope she gets out. I hope she's still alive. I hope she survived COVID and gets out there and has a big picture of Trump again. I miss her. It's been a number of years now.
We'll see what he's up to. But yeah,
so
look,
how she's aged. Can't have been good for her.
yeah, I don't know. In the elixir we've all been waiting for. But it's certainly a very interesting situation. I mean, we're in Australia. We're going to do what we're going to do. But I don't know what America is going to do tomorrow or the day after. Look at me. Ooh, you guys. What you planning? What you doing?
The carrier group in the Middle East is my biggest concern. The North Korean troops. I saw footage today of one of them who covered himself in his deceased comrades from North Korea. This is in Ukraine, having been hit by a drone, claiming they didn't have any ammunition. They didn't have any direction. They were kind of just sent out there as a meat wave to go and take the hill or whatever, right? I don't want to paraphrase it. You can find the video yourself of him talking about it. And he's the only one left from his group. And look, I don't know if the translation is accurate. I don't know if the whole thing is fraud or whether it's real. I don't know. There's no way for me to be able to confirm it. But the way that the story was run on the media, newstainment, they were portraying it as being real. And of course they would. I haven't seen it on RT. If I saw the RT version, You know, maybe the translation is different. I don't know, because I don't speak North Korean. But it was sad to see the shock of what modern warfare looks like to a new group of people.
Mm.
If that, because I hate killing. I don't care who it is that's killing who. I hate it. I can't stand the fact that, you know, we have to listen to the leader of some country and go off and do. I'm not saying I wouldn't participate. I would definitely participate if my government told me that I had to go and do it. I'm not going to start putting daisies in people's, you know, gun barrels or anything. But taking them from another country to use in your battle, or that's borderline for me. That's really bad. There must have been a trade or something that has allowed them to use them in meat waves. It's just it's really bad.
Yeah, look, you're right. It's a situation that I feel sorry for those folks. I really do. It's you don't wish it on anyone. You know, it's not something we think, oh yeah, what a good thing that happened. No, it's not a good thing. It's a terrible thing. It's an awful thing. Yeah. It's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, look, at the Perpetual War, 1984, the war that just, it's somewhere else. It may or may not be happening. I'm not saying that this isn't real. Now I'm talking about 1984. So in a future where to engage the patriotism button in each of us, we have to be told about a war that we're winning or we're not winning, and to emotionally invigorate us into being patriotic to the country we live in, because the threat, Mickey, the threat that it can all go down the toilet.
That's the key thing.
It's
not a, see, the thing is, it's not a concrete kind of thing. It's just, like Dave said, it's a threat, it's a possibility, which is worse because there's uncertainty there. We've discussed this. Uncertainty is a fantastic tool. Brilliant. You know, I mean, you couldn't ask for more if you're a dictator. Keep the people guessing, keep them uncertain. We don't want our people to rise up, because if you give them something concrete, you can fight against.
That's
There's
right.
an enemy over there. Okay, I get it. I can fight against an enemy. Nobody wants that. That's a bad idea. Right? What they want is uncertainty. We don't want to fight. That's bad mojo. So, let's just keep them uncertain and guessing and see what happens. That's where we are.
You said before, Mickey, you can't fight an ideal. You can't, because it's not real. It's not a thing you can shoot at.
100%.
So, yeah, this emotional connection that they're invigorating, I suppose, is the most powerful thing. And look, I'm going to tell you, Mickey, in the next 24 hours, I'm going to be as glued to the voting process and the election in America as I possibly can to see what's happening. I'm going to be watching with my popcorn and hoping that nothing bad happens.
Look, I also hope nothing bad happens. However, I'm not going to be acting surprised if it does. So, because I can't, not after this intense hate that I've seen everywhere.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible to think that these are countrymen or women, like people that are they're in the same country. It's not like they're enemies from somewhere else. Yeah. It's you're thinking, okay, that's a bit odd. Guys, maybe you should check yourselves there a bit. What's going on?
Oh, we've got 30 seconds left, Mackie.
Oh, geez, time does fly. Look, this has been Platos Cave. This, of course, was the topic of the hour. Don't forget, this is also the 5th of November. Gunpowder, treason, and plot. Hopefully you had some fun. We did. Don't go anywhere. Something awesome is going to come up. I'm sure we'll be back on Thursday with Platos Cave. But in the meantime, Dave,
be safe. even more safe.